Hi everyone, it's Kim from Fleece and Harmony, and this is episode 107 of our Knitting and Crochet podcast. I'm happy that you were able to join me today. If you're watching this on the day that it's released, it's October 28th, 2022. And this podcast is being recorded in our woolen shop, which is located in our woolen mill on our sheep farm in Belfast, Prince Edward Island. And I'm so happy you can join me today. We have our regular episode with a farm update because we do talk about the farm here. So we have a sheep farm here. And for those that are maybe joining us for the first time, we will talk about things that go on the farm. We also have lots of knitting to talk about, and we have crochet to talk about. I am going to announce a new knit along. So it's going to be a really fun one. I'm really excited about it. And as usual, we'll have a shop update. I also, if you're new here as well, you might not know that I do a list of 5, which is me picking out 5 projects and doing all the research for you on people's comments and everything, and making suggestions for patterns with a theme. And this week it's going to be about cowls, and in particular cowls that are fit close to the neck, not the big wrappy roundy type. And we're also going to have a little update with Betsy on our Wallflower crochet project, but also Betsy has lots of projects that she's working on as well. So she's going to update us on what she's been busy doing. And we have a little bit of an update on the Arne and Carlos event that's coming up at the end of November, the 1st of December. And finally, in the Harmony part this week, we're going to get some sheepy love. So the video is going to be about the sheep this week. So I'm happy that you can join me. I want to thank everybody for watching. And I didn't even notice, but YouTube has been flashing to me in the last little while that we've reached over 1 million views. So that actually happened last month. And with everything that was going on between the Fiber Festival and the hurricane and everything, that I never even noticed until this week that we actually have had over 1 million views. So I just really, really want to thank everybody for sticking around and watching and for commenting. Also, we're about to hit 11,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed and you watch all the time, then I encourage you to subscribe and help support the YouTube channel that way. So all of that is the introduction, and we'll talk about the farm update. It is really warm. And it is, as I said, you'll be watching this on October 28th. I'm recording on the Tuesday, which is the 25th of October, and it is 22 degrees here today. So it's hard to believe that on the 25th of October, it's 22 degrees, but I can't tell you how happy I am that that is actually the case, because our farmhouse renovations continue. And we have no furnace, and we have no wood burning furnace, and we have no insulation, and we do have a wood stove, but it's small. So for people that may have not joined us before, we're renovating our farmhouse that was built in the 1860s at some point, in 1860. And we're doing right back to the wood kind of renovation. And it's been a couple months now that we've had all the demo done, but we're really finding it hard to get the trades in to do it. So everybody is so busy, and it made it even worse because now there's emergency repairs that are being done by all the different contractors, and people were busy cutting trees and doing all that. So our project has gotten pushed back a little bit. And it's kind of a little bit nerve-wracking because I'm jokingly calling my house the wood tent, because that's basically what it is. And we are just really lucky that it's not really cold, and in particular it's not cold and windy. So we're hoping that the weather is going to hold out for a little bit longer, because we do have appointments for the insulation to be sprayed in and that kind of thing. But in the meantime, we're just thankful every day that it stays well above 10 degrees Celsius, around 40, 45 Fahrenheit. And that's about it. That's kind of occupying our minds now that we've got all the trees that fell down during Fiona cut up. Ken had a friend come and stay with us for 3 days a couple weeks ago, and he was really good with a chainsaw. So that was really great. We got Ken and Glenn is his name. Ken and Glenn got all the trees that were down around the fences all cleaned up. We've got all of our fences back to full strength and working order. And now we just have a lot of wood that we have to pick up and gather. Still quite a few branches that we have to get out of our yard. So we've been sprinkling them around in hedgerows and so forth. So we still have a lot of that work to do. But for the most part, Fiona is pretty cleaned up. It was really a long time for some people to get their power back. I think it was the like 21 days some people were without power, and our power actually went out last week again because we had a little tiny windstorm. It was, you know, nothing compared to what happened in the hurricane, but it was enough rain and wind that trees that had hung on for the hurricane, those all started falling, and we had Ken and I were in the barn, and I was just coming out of the barn and I heard this huge bang, like a big explosion. Ken came running out of the barn because he thought the house exploded. It was so loud. And then all of a sudden you could hear the electricity in the wires on the road go zzz, like that. And then everything went black. So we were like, oh my goodness, what now? So it was actually just trees. I think there was 4,000 people out of power again. Not that long. It was a transformer that blew. Right close to our neighbor's yard actually. And there was another one that blew in another part of the island. So I think altogether there was about 4,000 people that were without power. But they actually had power restored within a couple hours because it was very specific. It was a transformer, and it blew because trees that had managed to survive Fiona actually fell down on the wires. But I have to say, you know, we were saying, well, you know, it wasn't that bad. We were only out of power for a week during Fiona, and you felt like you were handling it all pretty good. But I can tell you that when the power went out and everything went dark, there was just a little bit of panic. You felt a little bit panicky that what's happening, it's happening again. But we didn't have to panic for too long because they were right on it and had it fixed quite quickly. So that's what's been happening on the farm and in the house. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about something that's kind of funny that's happening in the house with regards to the renovations. But I'm talking to Betsy about it, so you'll see it then. So I won't go further here with it. So after last week's heady success of having tungsten and actually having a finished object, I don't have a finished object today. So we're going to go right to the works in progress. And I'm really apologizing. I know people write to me and say, you don't need to apologize, but I'm not really apologizing because I'm doing things as quickly as I can, but I feel sorry for myself that I don't have this more progress on this sweater, but this is my progress on the Cowl cardigan. So it's just so darn long that I knit and knit and knit, and I've still been sticking to when I'm sitting, I'm knitting or I'm crocheting. So this is the two sides of the front. And I have about 10 centimeters left to do for the length before I start the shaping for the sleeves. So it is progress, but it's just kind of boring double seed stitch or double moss stitch. And I'll be happy when I have another 10 centimeters done, which should be by the end of this week, actually, at the rate that I'm knitting. And that will be good because then I'll be able to start the sleeves, which I don't know if I was telling somebody this or if I wrote it somewhere in one of the blogs or whatever, but this project for me, the yarn requirements for me was 14 balls and the size that I wanted to knit. And I keep looking at the bag of yarn that I have, and it doesn't look like there's that many balls gone. So that means that I have all of those balls still to knit. I do think I'm going to have a little extra yarn, I have to say, because I ended up knitting a smaller size because my gauge was larger, so I was getting less stitches to the inch than what the pattern called for. So that means that my sweater was going to be too big if I knit the size that I would normally knit. So I'm actually knitting a small. So I think I'll have some yarn left, but I still have quite a lot of knitting to do because you have both of the sleeves, which are all full, that are both full length sleeves, and then you have the cowl that goes around that has to be knit as well. So I'm going to just keep plugging along. And I didn't do anything on my paisley this week because I wanted to focus on my Wallflowers and getting a little bit further with the cowl cardigan. So I won't show paisley. And I might change my strategy for the next 2 weeks because I really could finish paisley just in a couple nights work. So I may do that. And so that's about it for whips and rips. So no rips at least. So that's good. Now I think we'll go to Wallflowers because Betsy will tell us about the project she's going to work on, or what she's been working on. And I'm going to show progress on my Wallflower blanket and tell you about a little frustration that I had yesterday because I wanted to get to a certain point for the podcast and I didn't get there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the segment with Betsy, and then when we come back, I am going to, I think I can finish what I wanted to finish for now within 2 days. So if I finish the Wallflowers, you may be seeing a picture at the end of the clip with Betsy of my void of my blanket filled in. If you don't see that picture, it's because I didn't get done what I wanted to. So let's go over and see what Betsy's up to, and we'll show you what I have done so far for the Wallflowers. Hi, Betsy.
Hi, Kim.
I don't know why I find that so hilarious when I say hi, but anyway, how are you this week?
Good. It's been a good week.
Yeah.
Our summer seems to continue.
I know. You're in a t-shirt.
I am, and I'm comfortable.
No,
maybe even a little
I was
warm.
I just popped into the house to get my lipstick on, and it was 22 degrees in the house. It's unbelievable.
And you have no insulation.
No insulation, no heating source except for a wood stove of any sort. So we're just flowing like the river.
You'll take it.
We're just gonna take it. Yeah, it was good. So, did you have a productive 2 weeks?
Yes.
I think you did.
I think I did.
Much more productive than me.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm going to show mine first.
Oh, sure. Sounds
okay.
good.
So you have a couple.
Wallflowers?
We're going to jump right into Wallflowers,
Okay.
and then you have a lot of projects to talk about.
Yeah,
so
sounds
we'll
good.
let you talk about your projects.
Okay.
So you're going to pass me mine. So so this is the last time we were here. These weren't together, and now they're together. And my full intention was, as of up until 9:30 last night, was that I was going to have the void filled.
Right.
Because I have all the stuff made to fill all of this space.
Yes.
However, you might recall from the last episode that I only had this one little thing to put in. So I sat down early last evening and started working on it right away when I came in for work. And guess how many times I had to put that in?
I don't know if you want to tell me.
Yeah, so I put it in 3 or 4 times before I actually got it right.
Which, looking at it, you wouldn't think it would be that difficult. But it's amazing how it can get just slightly twisted, and you attach the wrong edge to the wrong edge. And I get it. I did it a few times too.
And, this is the universe paying me back, because you might recall, I don't know if it was the last episode or the episode before, I went, I didn't have any trouble putting, because all of the other ones went in the first time. I didn't take out a stitch. This one, and I don't know if it's because I kind of lost the flow. I hadn't worked on it in the blanket for a few weeks because it wasn't out on my table, because my table was occupied. So I wasn't putting anything together for a few weeks. I was just doing the production stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think it was almost like I was disoriented when I laid it out and tried to put it out, even though I was following the pictures.
Right.
So, and I think I'm going to blame something really silly.
Okay, go ahead.
So, because we don't have a furnace and we don't have any insulation on the house yet,
Okay.
the construction guy was feeling sorry for us, and he put up poly all on the outer walls, the exterior walls of the
I have to interrupt and ask, what is poly?
Poly, like a plastic.
Oh, okay.
So sheets of plastic, but they're not clear. They're kind of like a hazy color.
Okay.
And it's like I can't see anymore.
What's the purpose of them?
Well, it just traps air between the exterior wall and the inside of the house.
Okay.
So he's got it all in the thing, and it's like you can't see.
I'll have to go into the house and see what this is.
Because Ken agreed with me.
Okay.
Because your eyes expect you to be able to see clearly, but because this poly film is covering all the definition in the room, it's like your eyes can't see.
So like your depth perception maybe gets off or something.
It's hard. It would be just like you smeared Vaseline on your glass. It looks like you smeared Vaseline on your glasses.
Okay.
So Ken and I have been going around cleaning our glasses and then realizing it's this poly film.
This stuff.
So this was the room where I was working on this, and every time I looked up, when I looked down again, I couldn't see.
Okay.
Properly.
Okay. So just
it's like your eyes adjust to the haziness, and then when you go to do something with you need good acuity to do it.
Yep.
Your eyes are not
okay.
focusing properly.
Interesting. Well, I would just.
Oh, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I would go with just. You have two sides to connect.
Okay.
So the exact angle of that flower matters quite a bit, and as you do the one side, you shift. And then you have to line up again.
Yeah, it was really, I did it like 4 times. And if anybody's wondering about my finger, Jennifer Hicks that does the dyeing is under the weather. So not the big C. She's just not feeling well.
Yes.
So she's been out for a couple days. So now I've done some dyeing, and it seems that I don't know why.
It matches your sweater.
Yeah, sort of. Anyway, so anybody that's waiting for their orders and they're a little bit late and we had stuff in there that we had to dye, then it's because it's me, because I'm almost as slow dyeing as I am knitting. Oh. So anyway, we'll get there. Anyway, Wallflowers. So yes, so I have all of this stuff in the middle to do, and
Which will be like any of these colors? Will it draw from any of the colors that we're seeing here?
No,
I can't remember.
Not really.
No, okay, it'll be different.
Yep, and I have them here actually, the pieces.
Nice.
So,
here, I'll hold this.
Yeah. So, but it looks like it's an awfully big space, but I guess all of these pieces, so I'm getting very excited because this is what I'm doing, going to be dark. So it's the first time that I've used this color. Okay. And then I've got black. That goes in here. And then that's another black. And then I've got black with a purple center.
I like this purple.
Yeah. And then I've got purple with a black center.
And then your outsides of these, I think, will even be a different color.
Yeah, but you use these colors too. Okay. Oh, yes. When you go to join them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do a little bit of a close-up so you can see.
And the edging that you use to join them does pretty much double the size of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have used... Oh, no, you have not used those yet. Okay.
What? The puffs?
Yeah, they were new.
Yeah. So anyway, it's going to change the look of it.
It will.
Quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's going to be gorgeous.
And Sue says that when you get to the filling the void part, it seems like some kind of a milestone, and I have to agree.
Yes.
Which is why I wanted to have it done last night.
Well, I think you suddenly have a solid piece.
Yes.
It's no longer like 2 pieces or multiple pieces. You now have a solid piece, and you continue to build on the outside.
Right.
And just like frame it each time.
Yeah, so it keeps getting...
Yeah.
So, all right, so that's my
And it just gives it, a solid shape there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it looks kind of like a big space, but I'm sure this all must fit in there.
It'll be good. You'll be fine.
I didn't miss anything.
I don't think so. Because believe it or not, this actually closes up to 1 hexagon.
Oh, okay.
So that actually, see, right now it looks really spread out.
Yeah.
But when you put it together, it becomes 1 hexagon.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Anyway, I'm still liking it.
Good.
These are good. So now we're going to see and someday I'll be aspiring to, because you made quite a good progress, I think.
I did. Right? So I had lots of those pieces made, which I showed you guys last time.
You had a box full of them.
I did have a box full. And now I'm down to... still kind of half of what that was left. So I got half of that in. So my void has been filled for a little while now. So I'm working, I just continue to frame the outside with the different kind of
And I have to say,
layers. I don't even know if we can get it all in frame.
It's really heavy.
It does have a lot of weight.
Yeah, I'm glad that I joined because in the instructions it says you can, for some of these things here, don't have to join in this on the flat side. You can just join at the points. I decided to join in the middle as well. You didn't, right?
In here I didn't, but ever since I've left that round, I now do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I agree with you. There's a lot of weight. Hold it way up and we can see it all there.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah. So this inner circle here is what Kim has finished, the dark circle that you can see there. And then I've just kept adding, like framing it. You just keep going around. So the next round is the purple round. And then the next round is adding these little green guys. And then there's a large gray blue flower that will go.
Which you already have done,
I do have done, yeah. Well, it's a bit deceiving. So you make these big flowers I had all the purple part done, and I thought, oh, I have these flowers done. Well, no. When you actually go to attach them, you add another 3 rounds of crochet.
3 more rounds. Okay, not 1 or 2.
Yeah, no, it's 3 rounds, and then you're attaching round. So I guess it's 4.
Oh,
so it does take, these big ones take time, but thankfully these little ones,
they're fast.
Yeah, they're fast.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so now I've, in the last podcast, I said that I was taking a page out of Andrea's book, and when I was sitting, I was knitting. Now I'm not going anywhere without my crochet hook and a couple puffs to do or whatever. So, and I did. I finished the stuff that I needed for filling in the void on our drive to the beach the other day.
Nice. She went to the beach,
folks.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah. So that's so it's lovely.
Yeah.
And is your wallflower dreams coming true?
It is. I really like it.
Because you were a little unsure.
I was unsure about this color and the greens, but now that there's more greens in there, it's just making sense. And for me, that was that whole, is it Monet's lily pads?
Yes.
Yes, was my sort of vision that I was trying to go for.
Water lilies.
Water lilies, yes. And I'm seeing it come together, and I really, really like it.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm now thinking I might have to do a quilt to match it to go in my room.
Oh,
Even though I just put that quilt on my bed.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, just, sometimes you just need to change up the quilt.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. So this is the wallflower section, but that's all we can talk about wallflowers for now.
Yeah.
And I will say this will be published on October 28th. So you still have, I think it's up until October 31st to sign up for the next course, which I guess I will be joining you in the next course as well.
Yeah.
And then it starts November 1st.
Okay. And I think I saw that some of you have mentioned that you signed up. So we're excited to have you joining us.
Yeah. Good. So, because we'll still be doing it.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know if Sue will let us in some of the Zoom meetings. Like, I guess we can.
I'm sure if you asked.
Yes. Anyway, we can see, you can follow us here, or maybe we'll see you around in the community forum. They have quite an active community forum too.
Yeah.
So
Facebook page, definitely. She does the Zoom meetings. And you get regular emails all the time.
Yes. Yeah. Great. So we'll see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now that's not all you've been doing. No. Do you want to talk about your t-shirt?
Let's.
Okay.
Because I'm not calling it a great success.
Okay.
But there are many reasons, and I think some of those reasons I could have discovered along the way.
Okay.
So we'll chat about a few of those. So number one, sort of the most obvious one to me, I didn't think about the color on me. Mm-hmm. So I love this color. I have water bottles this color. I have stuffed animals this color. I love this color to look at. Right. But I didn't think about what it would look like when I put it on me.
But did you also knit the Sun and Cetestall?
You understand, you were dying today. So colors have undertones.
Right.
The undertone for the Sun and Cetestall is just different. I would say, if I were to guess, I would say it has a white undertone. So there's just something slightly less
clear, not as orangey.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Not as mustardy, but that's probably
mustardy.
So it's in the same family. Some people might look at it and say, what are you talking about? It's the same color. but it's really not. And
Yeah.
I think our faces are funny, our skin tones are funny that way, how they can pull different colors. And
Right.
for this one, this particular shade does not, I think,
It's a little more gold
Yes.
than yellow.
Yes.
And the Sun and Pedestal is definitely yellow.
Yes.
I
it's a
think
more
maybe that's
yellow
the,
tone.
yeah.
So that was kind of my first little downfall that I just didn't think of. I just grabbed yarn that I was excited about because I loved the color and didn't think about it on me.
Right.
And then I ran into a few other pitfalls along the way. So
Okay.
I did make a swatch, which I had here.
Which you had got gauge on, right?
It's at the side here. I did. So I got it, and I got the gauge right. I thought my gauge was off from my swatch,
Right.
but it was actually correct. When I checked it again tonight, I'd lost it for a few weeks, and then I found it again.
Yeah.
So the gauge was correct. It was 24 stitches
Right.
in a 4-inch.
The
thanks.
the
I have
executive or producer is bringing you your swatch.
brought it to me. Yeah, so it's supposed to be 24 stitches in the 4-inch or 10 centimeters, I
Right.
think is the ones that we talk about. So this does have that. So even though the pattern didn't list how much ease is actually in it, I could have figured that out.
Right.
I could have just done the math and figured that out, that I was supposed to have between 9 and 13 centimeters of ease, which is fairly significant amount of ease. So I could have known that ahead of time, but I didn't do that math. I just measured my chest and went off with it and just decided to do that size.
Right.
As I got going, I must have loosened my gauge, because when I measured the finished product, I now have 25 stitches in 4 inches.
Sorry, instead of
24. So it's an
Okay.
entire additional stitch, which we talked about and you explained. Oddly enough, more stitches in a smaller space means larger finished product, right? Nope, it's the other way
opposite.
around. Okay, so it's the other way around. I have 23 stitches
Yeah, you were off by one.
off by one.
Yes. So
Which turned into being off by a significant amount. So I had said I should have like at most 13 centimeters of ease. I ended up with 23 centimeters of ease.
Yeah.
So it's just a little roomier. Some folks would love it and
Yeah.
would love to wear theirs with this much ease, but for my body type, it's just not what I prefer.
right.
Yeah.
So, and it's really, really important, because I've also done this where you're measuring your swatch and you think, oh, well, it's like one stitch. But when you think about that, you cast on how many stitches are all the way around the project that you're doing.
Yeah.
It's how many increments of 25 or 24 or 23 do you have? It's one stitch times that much.
It adds up.
It adds up.
It really does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like I said, the information was there, and had I measured, and I did measure as I went, I should have just paid attention. So probably what happened is my knitting relaxed a little bit
Right.
as I got going.
Right.
And then the other thing was I did change a few things. So the neckline is a little different. I did finish it with an I-cord neckline, which I actually like quite a bit.
It looks lovely.
Thank you.
It just was finished, right? Raw? Or what did they
They had
do?
me do some garter.
Oh, okay. Some
Yeah.
garter stitch. I like the I-cord.
Me
edge,
too. So then I thought, it's so great on the neck, I'll put it on the sleeves.
Yeah,
So
which
I
we
did-
saw the last time,
Yes,
right?
I think so.
Yeah.
But that ended up being too stiff. And so they were like standing up, kind of like
A little bit Star
armor.
Trek-y.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I went back, pulled that out, and just did a crochet finish on it, which they had wanted me to just pick up and knit and bind off basically immediately,
Right.
which I think you said is actually very similar
Yes.
to doing a crochet stitch.
Yeah.
So
But-
the sleeve's fixed.
Yes. And they do have relaxed.
They do.
Right.
Yeah. But I still think just all around, it's just not a favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is,
Well.
it's okay. I'm not going to rip it out. I'm sure maybe I can gift it or we can use it as a sample. I enjoyed the process of knitting it. And since I'm a process knitter, I'm
Doesn't-
okay.
you're
that it
okay.
didn't- Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I always say it doesn't really matter what I'm knitting on. I'm going to be knitting.
And you felt like you learned some things about
Yes.
it too. So,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I would be interested, because this is the Rowan cotton glacé.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very different than the Summer Light DK, which is what I did my Cornwallis sweater in.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if it is the pattern that's in the texture of the yarn, or what it feels like if you were going to knit. So I'm interested to do it's a mercerized cotton.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's at a small gauge.
I mean, this is the correct gauge.
It's the correct gauge, but
yeah.
the fabric is a small, the stitches are really close together.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Like it's pretty dense.
Yeah.
So when I do this to my Cornwallis, it goes, whew,
okay.
And I actually even made it tighter than what they were suggesting.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering, it's not really a very drapey fabric.
No, and I think for me, this style, I have this style of a shirt in, it's like, so this part is like see-through.
Right.
And there's like a see-through layer. So it's really drapey
right.
and flowy. And I like that, but it means that it just like falls on my frame.
Right, right. So I might just look up something else with this cotton glacé and just see if it's more because I mean, it's very textured and, it's for me, it looks like a pretty tight gauge.
Like you're going to look up and see if they do something else with a looser gauge?
Yeah, some kind of other fabric.
Right.
How it feels. Because it seems like it's quite a fine yarn, but actually it's not. Yeah. It's not a fine yarn at all. So
yeah. I think it just has a bit of stiffness to it. I want it to be.
And you've washed this and blocked it?
Yes, this one I did. This one I just did like a steam block.
Okay.
But this one I washed, and it's not. I don't think it's much different.
No.
It hasn't changed too much.
So that's it.
That's that project.
Every day's a school day.
Yep. I learned a lot. I learned pay attention to your swatching and recheck your gauge as you go because it matters. It matters. It matters.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
So after that.
And everybody's going to comment that it looks good, bigger, because that's what I got with my tungsten. Right. I haven't done anything to my tungsten yet, so because people will know that because they're watching the beginning of the thing. So I haven't done anything with it yet. But I like some really slouchy things. I've got all kinds of things that are really like oversized and whatever. But if that's not what you had in mind, then that project is not.
Yeah, you don't want it to feel disappointing when you wear it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you want to be proud of it because people are going to ask, oh, did you make that? And you want to feel good saying, yes, I did.
Yeah. So, and I think, I mean, a lot of people wrote from last podcast saying that they thought that it looked great. And I don't think that it looks bad. No. It's just not what I wanted. It's still, it's turned out to be a slouchy sweater, but that's not really what I was going for. So, the same thing. It's just not, it's not like a bad project. Project. It's not a bad project. It's just not what I had in mind.
Which actually reminded me, your tungsten, because I was thinking about it as I was working with my Wallflowers. It's made out of the Rowan felted tweed. And for some reason this week, I was just like getting absorbed in the individual colors.
Right.
So one that I'm like, scree, the color scree. Oh, yeah. It's this beautiful blue.
Yes.
And I think your tungsten was made out of the main body is clay. Is that correct? Yeah. And I was like, I really like this color too. Yeah. And there's almost a bit of a pink flush underneath it.
The scree.
No, the clay, I would say.
Yeah. And scree, the scree is a beautiful blue. You're right. So that was actually the main color for the tungsten. There was the blue contrast that I did because I did 3 kits.
Right.
Which you can still get if you want.
Yeah.
So it's the blue one had the dark navy, the little bits in it and stuff.
The Argyle was dark navy.
So mine was supposed to be made with scree.
Okay.
But we ran out of scree. So I sent that to a customer and I substituted clay.
Okay.
But that was the look that I was going for, was the navy squares or navy Argyle diamonds with the scree as the base. So I don't quite have, but I'm fine with the clay. Yeah. But scree is a beautiful blue. Yeah. It is a beautiful blue.
So I would just put another plug in for Rowan felted tweed.
Yeah.
If you're and your knitted fabric, it still has some good drape to it.
Yeah,
I really
it's
like
pretty drapey.
how it's turned out.
Yeah, and it feels really nice on.
It's so soft.
Yeah.
So that was my plug about that one. So then I wanted something fun.
Yes.
Just something fun. I didn't want to have to worry about fit at all. And I knew that I know that I started that other wrap and I will come back to it. But then I decided.
The patty wrap.
Yes, the patty wrap.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's still going fine. It's just repeat after repeat. So it's really not a lot of excitement to show.
Okay.
But I had all these ideas going around my head, and I wanted to work with our yarn to do something and do the ideas. So kind of some of the main thoughts that were driving me was I wanted to push myself to use a larger needle on a finer yarn.
Oh, okay.
So this is our sock yarn on a 5mm needle.
Oh, okay. All
and
right.
the other goal was a double textured fabric.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. There's no front, there's no
Okay.
back.
And you chose seed stitch.
Well, this one here is double moss.
Oh, okay.
So I tried it in double moss. I don't know how well that shows on the camera, which I liked, but wasn't quite what I was going for.
Okay.
And then I tried something called hurdle,
Oh,
which is interesting.
maybe we'll take some pictures of these.
These a little
because you're-
close
yeah.
up. So again, I'm liking the drape I'm getting. That one has really good drape to it. And it's airy.
So how did you knit these? Starting from the point?
That was the other thing. So I got inspired by Jennifer Hicks is working on a wrap. Maybe she'll tell us more about it later. That, yeah, it's a diagonal construction.
Okay.
So you actually start with like one stitch and then you keep adding.
Okay,
and
so
keep
you went
growing
this way then.
that way.
Okay.
Yeah, with starting down here.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to see what it would look like
Right.
on the diagonal. So
Right.
again, this one was okay, but I didn't love it. It's it kind of has a little stripiness
Right.
into it.
Right.
So for the blue
Almost like a baskety.
weave kind
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
Okay.
I think when I read about it, they described it something to do with horse jumping. The hurdles that the horses
Okay.
jump over.
All right.
Was
Okay.
the inspiration
that's
of
a
that
stretch.
texture.
I'll take a picture of them. Okay.
And then I settled on seed stitch.
Single
So,
stitch.
Single seed stitch.
Seed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just back and forth, purl, knit, and then knit, purl.
Yeah.
And I love it. So
Yeah.
this is the end here starting.
So this is cotton candy, the blue.
Cotton candy. Yeah.
And then this is
Ferris
wheel. Okay. In our sock yarn.
Yeah. So then I wanted to try a different texture with the Ferris wheel, but not too different. Because I think in general, my projects in life tend to end up being too busy.
Okay.
So I was trying to rein it in.
Okay.
So I tried the seed stitch on that one, which again, I liked.
Yeah.
And what's really neat is it almost like our variegation almost goes polka dot
Yeah.
on the diagonal.
Yeah.
Maybe you can see it a little better on the other side. I don't know if the light's shining through. We'll take pictures
Yeah.
close up. So I was loving how the variegation was landing like
Yeah, it's
kind of
really cool.
polka dotted.
Yeah.
That might be due to the diagonal construction
Wow.
or the
Who
seed
kno-
stitch.
yeah,
I'm
who
not
knows?
sure.
Yeah.
So I was just having so much fun playing. But then I've often avoided garter stitch because I don't love it horizontally.
Okay.
But I tried it on the diagonal and I quite like it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
So I was still getting the little polka dot splotch, which
Yeah.
I was happy about.
They're not as polka dotty though.
Not quite. No.
Yeah. Interesting.
So yeah, that one, the seed one was fun. So in the end, this is how it's ended up starting. Does that
And what
make
is this going to be?
This is going to be a wrap. So
So it'll
think,
end up being a square shape
rectangle.
or rectangle, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, not triangle. So
No.
it's not a triangle shawl.
No, I wanted to try, because I want it to kind of wrap around and around and
Right.
around and hang down. I didn't want whatever side was showing. I didn't
Yeah.
want it to matter.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's what it'll be. And I think I'm going to end with that being the width
Okay.
so that I can have it around my neck once or twice and not feel
Right.
like I'm completely drowning in it.
So you're not following a pattern for this?
Not at all. I am making this up as I go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm having tons of fun with it. Just deciding how wide I want the stripes.
Right.
Yeah. So
Cool.
it's just a super fun TV knit because I can't make a mistake because I'm making it up.
Yeah, that's right. I actually have not knit a sweater with our sock yarn, but
I think it would be pretty.
It feels really nice. Yeah. Nice. Okay.
And these are not even washed and blocked yet, so that'll
okay.
probably soften even more.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll take pictures of those.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's
Excellent.
where I'm
That's
at.
it.
Oh, no, I did forget. So the reason I chose these colors is because we have a company here on the island called Cowls Creamery,
Yeah.
Cowls Ice Creamery. So I have this sweatshirt that I bought from them this summer.
Yeah.
And I really wanted something to just, when I wear it at home, it's hugely oversized. Just wrap up in it. What do they call them? Schlankets?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shawl blankets. So this is to go with it. And it was perfect. My daughter walked by the other day, saw this and said, Mom, that looks like birthday cake.
Yeah.
So I've got my cake and my ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm a happy girl.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. It does look like cake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. All right. So next time I'll have my void filled.
Nice.
For my wallflower. And I don't know where you'll be.
I don't know.
I think it'll be kind of, now it's getting big to go around.
It'll take longer. Each round
Yeah.
will take a little longer.
Yeah, exactly. So how many more rounds do you think you have, or do you know?
I know there's some large gray flowers.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the large stuff.
Okay.
And then I know there's like 50 more puffs and then like 60 more puffs. So
Oh,
a bunch of small things. But like I said, they go in quickly.
Right.
And you make them quickly.
Right. Okay.
And then we have trim.
So it's just the trim after that. Just the trim.
I think.
Okay.
Because I'm on chapter 7 of 9.
Okay.
I believe.
So there's still 2 chapters to go.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you'll be seeing us around the Wallflowers community for a little while longer. Yeah. All right. Have a great 2 weeks, Betsy.
You too. Take care.
Bye. All right. So I don't know if you're seeing a picture now or not, but if you're seeing a picture, I got what I wanted done. If not, then I didn't get that done either. So just the way it is. We've been super busy in the store. We're still trying to catch up from orders. And so if people have been writing me saying, just want to check and make sure that my order is okay. So all your orders are good. All of the saltwater sock books that we have in the shop are all signed, so you don't need to worry about that I'm going to run out of saltwater sock books that are signed, because all the copies that I have are signed. And I have to, Jennifer Hicks is feeling unwell. Nothing serious. She just has a cold, really a cold. And so I'm now doing some of the dyeing as well. And I'm just as slow at dyeing as I am at knitting. So I really apologize about that. And I think this will be the second time that you're hearing this, because I talked about it with Betsy as well. So that's it. We're getting the orders out as quickly as we can. And I don't mind if you do write me because you're worried that your order got lost. It probably didn't get lost, but if you want to write me, I'll let you know where you are in the queue. And but we're catching up every day. We're just not fully caught up yet. So your order might be a little bit late. But I don't know if this is good or bad, but I'm probably the one that's dyeing it if it's late. So you'll have personal service from me on the dyeing. So I do have something kind of exciting that I want to talk about, and I have decided that it is time for me to start a project with our own yarn. So I wanted to do a project from the Scandiworks, the Nordic Knitting Primer by Kristin Drysdale. So this is part of this will lead into the shop update. So we have that book, the Nordic Knitting Primer, which is this one, and it is just excellent. If you want a book where you can get different techniques on how to do things, it really is a primer. It's kind of like a guided class on improving your knitting and your color work. So that's a really impressive first book from Kristin Drysdale. Kristin also recently has just celebrated publishing her 100th pattern. So she's got 100 patterns that she has published now. As you also know, if you've been following along, she created a pattern for the PEI Fiber Festival out of our Selkirk worsted yarn, and that is called Lady Cordelia, a beautiful cardigan. And but I don't want to knit a cardigan. Betsy wants to knit a cardigan, so I think I'm going to try to talk her into knitting the Lady Cordelia for the knit along that we're going to have with the Scandiworks patterns. I am going to knit a project out of the Nordic Knitting Primer because I want to pull over. And I haven't decided which one I'm going to knit yet, but I'll keep you posted on that with the newsletter. So by the way, if you haven't already signed up for our newsletter, I do a newsletter every Friday, and it's published, it was late last Friday. It came out on Sunday instead. But every Friday I publish a newsletter. One newsletter introduces the podcast that's going to be launched that week, and then the alternate week there's just shop updates and things in the newsletter. I often talk about things first in the newsletter before I talk about them in the podcast, but I will give all the details of the knit along in the newsletter as well this week. And we will have a special offer from Kristin that as of October 28th, there will be a code that I will put in the show notes for this podcast, and it will be in the newsletter as well for 20% off of her patterns, and in anticipation that you'll want to join me and probably Betsy for our knit along. And you can choose any pattern that is published by Scandiworks, and you can knit it in any yarn. And I will set up a page on Ravelry for us to talk about the knit along. So the knit along will be any pattern from the portfolio of Kristin Drysdale. There'll be a 20% discount using the code that you can see in the show notes. And I'll also send the code in the newsletter, and you can have 20% off of Kristin's patterns when you order them through Ravelry. And I hope that you join me for the KAL. And if you need any help picking out yarn or anything like that, then just let me know, because I'm here to help you do that as well if you want to knit one of the designs with our yarn. But you don't have to knit with our yarn. If you can join the KAL knitting with other yarns as well. So that's pretty exciting. So we've ordered extra of the books. So if you want to join and you want to knit something out of the Nordic Knitting Primer, then you can buy that book here online. And I think that's a pretty good lead into the rest of the shop update. So there's one other special thing that I wanted to talk about in the shop. And if you've been following us for all the podcasts, that you know that we started to carry the Selbu Mitten book and the Selbu Pattern book. There's two books, the Mitten book and the Pattern book. They're basically a stitch dictionary for all of these Selbu historical motifs. And this one focuses on the mittens and has patterns inside for the mittens as well. And the other one book, the Selbu Pattern book, has garments. They have a couple patterns for sweaters and things like that. So I really loved this book when I got it. I like the historical aspect of it, and the fact that when you're knitting these mittens that you're carrying on a tradition that has been a long time in the making. The yarn that they use in those mittens is not a yarn that we carry here or that I make until now. So the big news is that we have created a new yarn specifically with these mitten patterns in mind, and we are going to launch that on October 28th. There's been Andrea and Madeline from Fruity Knitting were here for the Fiber Festival, and they spent some time in my shop while I was creating the yarn that I wanted to launch. And the yarn is called Wild Winds 2-ply. The name of the yarn comes from the farm where the fleece comes, where we bought the fleece for this specific yarn. And the fleece is different than the kind of fleece that we use in our regular yarns. So this is a special spin from a special flock of sheep. And Andrea did a little segment on that. So I am not going to tell you any more details here. I will direct you to check out the Fruity Knitting podcast that should be up today. And she is going to do a recap on her trip here in PEI. And part of that podcast is a segment about the way that I created the yarn, how I designed the yarn that I'm using for the Selbu mittens. So the Wild Wind 2-ply will be available online. It's a fine, like a fingering yarn, a 2-ply fingering yarn, and it will be available on the shop as of October 28th today. There's only 3 colors. So there's the natural color of the fleece, there's black that we have, and we also have a gray, which is the black and the white mixed together to give a mid-gray color. So those are the 3 traditional colors that the Selbu yarns were made in. Usually they were homespun, but or hand spun, but I'm using my machines obviously, and you can check out those 3 colors of that yarn in the shop. So the other thing in the shop, the big news is that Kate Davies has launched a new book called Sark, and we have copies of that on their way here. So by the time this podcast is released, we will have the copies in the shop, and I think I'm going to do a little slideshow on the patterns in this book. So we'll go take a look at that right now. As always, Kate has knocked it out of the park with this beautiful book, and we can hardly wait to get it in. So like I said, it'll be here by the time you're watching this, and I'll be happy to ship you your copy of Sark by Kate Davies. The next segment we're going to talk about is the list of 5. So last podcast we missed the list of 5, but we're back this time. This time, as I mentioned in the introduction, the list of 5 is focused on cowls. I have 2 cowls that are crocheted and 3 that are knitted. And the cowls that I prefer personally are the ones that tend to fit close to the neck. So those are the cowls that I wanted to talk about today. So the first one is pretty cool actually. So it's close to the neck, but it has a kind of a flare that goes over the shoulder, and it's called the Descent Cowl. And the pattern was originally made in crochet. So there's a crochet pattern, and then there was a knit version of the pattern developed as well. It's by Carissa Brownie, and it sells for $5 US on Ravelry. It's made for a DK weight yarn, and it uses linen stitch, and you can use, as you can see from the picture that I showed, that it would be great if you want to mix a solid with a variegated. Personally, I'm a fan of that. technique using a variegated yarn for doing color work, because I just find it gives such a great dimension. And this pattern is really cool. I like the fact that it's tight to the neck at the top, but then comes over the shoulder. So under your coat, and with a DK weight, it's going to be really comfortable under your coat for winter. So that is the first cowl on the list for the close fitting cowls, knitting and crochet in this case. The second one is called the Lacy Sharma Neck Warmer, and it is by Laura Wilson. Apparently Sharma, I think, is her mother's name, if I read that correctly. And it is also $5 US for the pattern. This is a crochet, but in a medium worsted. So our Selkirk worsted yarn could absolutely be used for this. Again, I just like the way that it lays down in the front, and you have that beautiful lace trim around the outside of the cowl. I just thought that it was really, really nice and fancy, but not too fancy, and just a really beautiful pattern. Again, crochet. The next one is one of my very favorites, and it's the Winter Light Cowl. And this was designed by Simone Van Eiderstein, who's a good friend of ours. And her company is Sand and Sky Creations. She's got quite a lot of patterns online that you can buy. This one is $6 US, and it's knit in color work. And she designed the pattern in Selkirk worsted. And I just love the colors in her sample are Crow Wing, which is black, with Scotch on the Rocks, which is the variegated color in the color work. It's just such a beautiful cowl. It's not a difficult knit, but it's stunning the way that it reminds me of stained glass. And I can just picture it with, you could also do like a dark navy with one of the blue variegateds. It's just a beautiful, beautiful cowl. And you can check out other cowls that Simone has designed. There's 3 or 4 of them in her portfolio for Sand and Sky Creations, and they all are close fitting. She doesn't really do the twisty ones. I didn't go through her whole thing, but I don't think she's got any of the big long ones. They're all kind of close to the neck and beautiful. So that's the Winter Light Cowl. Number 4 is the Heart Warmer, and it is by Justina. Okay, so I really wanted to pronounce this right. Justina Lorkowska. And I'm sorry if I've murdered that last name, but Justina has designed a lovely, lovely cowl as well. And it is $5.50 on Ravelry. It's a knit cowl. And what I liked about it is that it is all of the different stitch work that is done there. It would not really be boring at all to knit, because you've got all of those different segments that have those beautiful stitches. It is done in fingering weight. So depending on where you're living, it may not be warm enough for the middle of winter in these parts, but if you're in a warmer climate that gets a little bit of winter, this may be the perfect cowl for you, because it's quite light in the fingering weight yarn. So I just really liked the aspect of you're not knitting the same pattern all the way up, that you have all those different segments that make it really cool, and the fact that it's something different because it's actually knit in quite a lightweight yarn in a fingering. So that's a beautiful one. And the last one on the list is the Rio Kalina cowl. And this is by Kat Bordy. And if anybody knows, if you don't know Kat, it's really worth your while to go check out her website. So Kat passed away a couple years ago now. And she was just like a beautiful knitter. She was an instructor and taught a lot of classes. So there's a lot of people that met her in her knitting teaching career. And this pattern, I read the story from her website behind this cowl, and I think it's a beautiful pattern in its own right. It's just those really chunky, lovely cables. It's free, and you just have to follow the links from Ravelry. So you can find the pattern on Ravelry, which is where I'll link, and then you follow the, maybe I'll link right to her website. It'll be easier for you. So that would be down in the show notes. And when she wrote the introduction to this pattern, she had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. So she talks a little bit about that. But I just find that the grace that she exhibited, what I read about her as well, when I read further about her, is that she was a person that was full of grace in life, and certainly at the end of her life, that did not diminish at all. And it's really quite touching. And the cowl is beautiful. So it is actually knit flat in a full worsted weight yarn, and the cables are just gorgeous. And then you fold it over and you join the cable to get that unique design. It kind of looks like a crisscross, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful pattern. So the links to all of those patterns are in the show notes below if you want to check any of those out, or you can look them all up in Ravelry using the names that I've just given you for that. So I really not much more to talk about this week, but I'm going to do like a little update on Arne and Carlos. Arne and Carlos, if you haven't heard, are coming on November 29th, 30th, and the 1st of December to do classes. So on the 29th of November, they are going to do a Sit and Knit a Bit live in Charlottetown at the Holman Grand Hotel. All the information is on our website. If you just search on Arne and Carlos, the event will come up. There are still a few spaces left for the lecture, the Sit and Knit a Bit live. 2 of the classes are sold out. So the Knit and Purl the Norwegian Way is sold out, and so is the Layered Colorwork class. I am keeping a waiting list for both of those classes, and I've actually gone through most of the people that were on the waiting list. I just have 1 or 2 people left on the waiting list for each class. So if you do want to get on the waiting list, let me know, because things are happening to people and they have to cancel. So I have gone through the list. There's been quite a few people that were successful in getting tickets. The other classes, the Norwegian stranded color work, and that was a class where you make a Christmas ornament, and Arne and Carlos have just launched their Christmas 2022 patterns. But so if you want to be taught by them how to do those Christmas ornaments, then it is the Norwegian stranded color work class that you want, and you will make a Christmas ornament in a pattern that is specifically for this workshop. And we also have room left in the Primrose Crochet class with Arne and Carlos, which is to do a primrose blanket. So if you are interested in doing crochet flowers, but you feel that wallflowers might be a little bit too much for the time that you have or for your skill level, then you can join the Primrose Crochet class with Arne and Carlos. And this is a beginner class, so they are actually going to teach you how to how to crochet in the class. So it starts right at the very beginning. So you don't need to worry if you don't know how to crochet. You can still take that class, and it's a beginner class for crochet. And if you already had purchased tickets, I had updated the PDF that comes with the tickets. So you might have gotten a notification that there's an update. All the update is that I didn't, when I created the tickets, I didn't have the room in the hotel where the classes were being held, and I didn't have an exact time of the classes. So I have updated that, and I've also updated the yarn requirements. And in the case of the Layered Colorwork class, there is homework to be done. So I have updated the information on that ticket for the homework. There is a little bit of a pattern. You have to start the rib of the hat before you come to the class. So if you're signed up for the Layered Colorwork class, then you want to make sure that you get the updated download. I have apologized to the people that had tickets and then refunded them. Don't worry, your refunds have gone through. Just the way my website updates PDF, it assumes that they're patterns and that everybody that purchased the pattern would want the update. And I couldn't figure out a way to not send the update to the people that already have refunded their tickets. So I'm sorry that you got another update about it. And I know people were worried that I hadn't known that they were no longer coming, but that's all fine. And I just want you to know that the ticket, if you purchased more than one ticket because you're bringing a friend, but you purchased the ticket for your friend, the ticket on it says admit one, but I'm actually going to be creating a list of all of the people that are current owners of the ticket, so you haven't refunded anything. And if you bought 2 tickets and you didn't give me the name of the person that the ticket goes for, I will put 2 tickets under your name and will manually be checking off the names. So I would encourage you to have your ticket ready when you come. It'll just be faster. But if you don't have it or you haven't downloaded or whatever, then I will have the list of names of people that we're expecting with valid tickets. So we'll check them off that way as well. So I think that's all. Oh yes, the other thing, I got quite a few comments about if we were bringing yarn to the event. So there is actually a little Arne Carlos trunk show that we'll have at the event. So Rowan is sending along some samples of knitwear using the Norwegian wool and other designs that Arne and Carlos have made. So we'll have a little trunk show there. And we will also, I will be bringing felted tweed, kid silk haze, and the Norwegian wool to the event as well. So if you want to purchase those 3 yarns, I will bring them to the event. If you're coming to the event and you want to purchase something else from my shop and you want me just to bring it to the event for you, then you can place an order and mark on it for local pickup and just write me a note saying that you want to pick it up at the Arne and Carlos event. I can't bring everything from the shop, and unfortunately my shop is not big enough for me to hold the event here, which would have been great. But I am, like I said, bringing felted tweed, the Norwegian wool, and kid silk haze. So just one more, again, if you're taking the layered colorwork class, that is the class that Arne and Carlos are teaching with the felted tweed and the kid silk haze. You need to do homework, so you will have to order your yarn to have it shipped to you before you get here so that you can prepare for that workshop. And I think that's it. So with this, I'm going to say, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And we're going to take a look at the harmony part. And Ken captured just a beautiful little video with all of the sheep coming for their breakfast. So as you know, if you've been following us, Diva, our very old sheep, gets her breakfast a special breakfast every morning because she has no teeth left. So she has to eat alfalfa soup basically every morning. And the other sheep have all decided to accompany her to the barn every morning. So Ken just was able to collect this little clip of all the sheep coming. Sometimes some of them are hoping to get a bite of Diva's breakfast, but I think most of them are just hoping to get their chin scratched by Ken. So I hope you enjoy the harmony part. I wish you a great 2 weeks over the next 2 weeks. And we'll see you back here in 2 weeks' time. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to knit for the Scandiwork knit along. And relax with some lovely music and a little video of our sheep coming for breakfast. Have a great 2 weeks, and may your crafting bring you joy over the next couple of weeks. Bye.